Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So we see this headline, the AP, Belarus opposition figure detained when flight diverted. And yes, people are really up in arms over this one. Because basically the safety and welfare of everybody on the plane was at risk. And so here we see a prominent opponent of Belarus' authoritarian president was arrested Sunday after the airliner in which he was traveling was diverted to the country after a quote-unquote bomb threat in what the opposition of Western officials denounced as a hijacking operation by the government itself. Roman Pranic, who faces charges that could bring 15 years in prison, was aboard the Ryanair flight from Athens, Greece to the Lithuanian capital of Vilnius when it changed course to head for Minsk. I saw this Belarusian guy with a girlfriend sitting right behind us. He freaked out when the pilot said the plane is being diverted to Minsk. He said there's a death penalty awaiting him there, a passenger said after the plane arrived there in Vilnius following several hours in the Belarusian capital. We sat for an hour after the landing. Then they started releasing passengers and took those two. We did not see them again. Flight tracker sites indicated that the plane was about 6 miles from the Lithuanian border when it was diverted. There were conflicting accounts of the move. The press service of Belarusian president said that the president himself ordered that a MiG-29 fighter jet accompany the airliner after he was informed of the bomb threat. Deputy Air Force Commander Andrei Gritsevich said that plane's crew made the decision to land in Minsk. Or did they? You know, this is kind of big because you have a lot of people up in arms over this political maneuver, you know, to basically snag this guy, putting other people's lives in danger. You see, Belarusian airspace is completely unsafe for any commercial flight and should be deemed this not only by the EU but by the international community, because now this instrument could be used for any plane crossing Belarusian airspace, said Lithuania's foreign minister. So Prasevich is a co-founder of the Telegram message app's Nexta channel, which Belarus last year declared as extremist after it was used to help organize major protests against the president. So interesting, is it not? What's your feelings?
It feels very dirty. It just doesn't feel right. There's something smoky, something covered, something underhanded here.
Well, something that sounds like could be concerning here. Border Patrol helicopter had a bizarre encounter with mysterious, highly modified drone at 14,000 feet. FBI is investigating. As you see here, the FBI has announced the start of an investigation into a strange near-miss incident that occurred on February 9th, 2021 in the skies over Tucson. About 10:30 p.m. on that day, a helicopter operated by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, was reportedly buzzed by a high-powered drone that had followed it up to a high altitude. Multiple law enforcement agencies also attempted to follow the drone to the point that they could identify its operator, but they were unsuccessful. At the time of the writing, the exact kind of helicopter involved does not appear to have been identified. CBP operates a number of different helicopter types, including Airbuses and Black Hawks among those that fly along the border area on a regular basis. So they described it as heavily modified, but they didn't really describe the modifications. And so, you know, they're wondering, the FBI is investigating, and this was, you know, near an Air Force base as well, which gets you thinking, is it potentially the fine dining ware, you know, country? Is it potentially drug cartels? Is it just some lone wolf person that is just a little out there? Curious.
Most definitely. I'm picking up something that's cloaked with that too. That's really curious. I do kind of feel like there's an alien-like slant to this, but not completely.
Interesting. very interesting. And talking about aliens, so we see U.S. submarines detect mysterious speeding craft underwater ahead of Pentagon UFO report. Again, moving at speeds that they say we don't have the technology to duplicate, and in ways we don't have the technology to duplicate. Of course, our technology is probably centuries ahead of what they're showing us. But then again, it got that way because of the ET presence on the planet. ET and ID, interdimensional, which, if you just, go through and look at the history, the evidence, we've shown those religious paintings that were done anywhere between like the 1700s going back to like the 900s AD, showing, the Madonna and then a UFO in the sky beaming down energy or light. You know, there's so much evidence all over. We could look at the Nazca lines, which you can only make out from being way up in the air. We could look at all the legends around the world of these non-humanoid beings. It just goes on and on. The evidence is absolutely overwhelming that we have been and still are not only visited, but actually, we're under the influence and control of some of these. Our leadership is. How UFO sightings went from a joke to national security worry in Washington. Well, of course, at the top, they understand, again, what's going on. And there's probably thousands of people in the military that regularly interact with beings that are not Homo sapiens sapiens.
Absolutely. And that's one of those things that they keep from us because they don't want us to know the truth of our reality.
Yes, we have actually, been there playing pool with some that are in the know because they were working in the bases and areas like Area 51 has, for instance, tipping point suspense builds ahead of the major Pentagon report on UFOs. So, you know, it's they're gonna again control the narrative, control the narrative. That's what this is all about. It's just simply the realization of it is going mainstream. The majority of people believe now in extraterrestrial life. And many people are savvy to interdimensional as well as extraterrestrial. And, when you look at what people like David Icke have been talking about for 30 years, and you could see his views over on Brighteon, they're up there. People are aware of the bigger picture going on. There's so much that has been declassified and coming out. Again, it's going to be about controlling the narrative now. How do we control the narrative so that they still maintain control of the planet?
I don't know. They need to, though.
Yeah, so we will see what that report says. Meanwhile, checking in on Earth changes. At least 9 tornadoes touched down in Colorado Saturday, so storms are heating up. We're seeing all sorts of bizarre weather. And again, the artificial flavoring involved is pretty obvious to many people and a growing number of people. So the volcano death toll is rising over there in the Congo. 5 people were found choked to death on toxic fumes after the eruption of the volcano over there. And that brings to 20 the number killed since this one started. So let's pray for those people and send positive energy their way. And meanwhile, we see extreme heat forming across the Arabian Peninsula after record Russian heat wave. So again, it's the extremes. It's just flipping that switch from record cold, and then the next week you get record heat. 122 degrees is pretty dang hot. And we do have incoming, as we had talked about, solar flare frenzy. Yeah, it's definitely waking up. So we should have impact tomorrow, they're talking about. So we'll see what the KP index looks like tomorrow. Again, in normal times, we shouldn't have anything but, just simply radio blackouts, maybe a little bit of interruption with cell phone internet. And I am getting that from friends and, family members out there that they're experiencing some internet issues, some technical difficulties underway. And I've noticed it too. It's been kind of weird. how it works. Sometimes you have to reload things 2 or 3 times and then it goes back to being normal. So study finds how lightning benefits the Earth's atmosphere. It actually helps to cleanse it. One of the things I always noticed that after a lightning storm, the plants in my garden would all be just going through a big growth spurt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Mother Nature's way of cleansing. Is, by the way, we're looking at Tucson there too. Cleansing things, but also, think life force. Think the life force that's being supercharged. It's basically, we are electro-biomagnetic beings, and some beings apparently are more magnetic than others now out there. As my gosh, everybody is sending us videos about magnets, if you guys know what I mean, sticking where they're not supposed to be sticking. Um, it's fascinating. We know that the majority of you guys out there want us to talk about all these things, talking about the earth changes, talking about the other things, disclosure that's going on, talking about the military movements, keeping an eye out for that. It would be a disservice for us to put our heads in the sand, so to speak, when we are in these type of tumultuous times. There's always those people that just want to talk about pink bunnies and white puffy clouds, and just focus on that, even when there's a train heading down the tracks. And if we just simply got up and moved a few feet, we would be okay. Or let our neighbor know, hey, there's a train barreling right at you. You might want to move a few feet. But with some people, they unfortunately will take it as, oh, you're going down the negative route. This is what we've been sharing since 2017. We've been talking about the earth changes. We've been talking about, exactly how the control is structured on this planet, the powers that be that you don't see, the real control grid. This is how Evolutionary started out in 2017. About maybe 2 or 3 weeks in, right after a certain group that begins with an I and ends with an I reached out to try to recruit myself when I was in Florida. And so something kicked off, and it was the guide saying you have to let people know. Originally, this was only these channels were only going to be about energy work and life force. People understanding prana, ki, chi, vril, understanding how the universe works in that sense, and how to better themselves through qigong, yoga, tai chi, meditation, healthy living, and incorporating in things like healthy practices like fasting, as well as proper nutrition and exercise and things like that. So I originally started out with that idea and that mindset, but that lasted only 2 weeks, because then I was reached out by this group and something kicked in and we went down that route from August of 2017. So, the message hasn't stopped or changed. As we know that Cindy and I's purpose is to keep awakening people up. There are others out there. I mean, we know there's most of you guys are awake, and we are waking up people, because we get hundreds, if not thousands of people telling us, if it wasn't for you guys, I would still be stuck in this mindset or that mindset. And, now I realize things, and, I've changed things. I'm off my MEDSs and I'm doing things naturally, and I haven't felt better. And I started to practice meditation, and I started to practice Qigong and yoga, and I'm doing mantras, and wow, the changes in myself are amazing. Yeah, now I can start to feel the energy. I can even maybe some cases see the life force or see the auras around people. I'm making better decisions. So, we know, because we're every single day in contact with our guides. So we know what they want us to do. We know what our mission is coming in. And our mission is one of awakening and guiding. And so that's what we're going to do. And our life would be way easier if we picked a side. It would be way easier if we decided, oh, we're going to jump on a certain alphabet, letter train, so to speak. Or we're going to, totally go down the right side or the left side, whatever, but just totally buy into the system in one way or another. Or we're just going to ignore everything that is being set up and being planned, and we can't ignore all the things that are being planned and in the works. And when we get information from the guides that say, there's this potential danger ahead, then we have to find a way to share it with you guys. That's our job. That's what we're here for. We can't just simply wish it away. If we had a bigger percentage of the planet awake, then we could change timelines. We could shift things in a much more positive direction. It takes reaching a certain critical percentage of the population to really get a good timeline shift going. So it's all about awakening the masses, awakening as many as can. And so, thank you guys for sharing the videos. And I don't always keep up with mentioning that, like, share, subscribe. Because honestly, I hate sales. If I stayed in the corporate world, life would be cushy. It would be way easier than what we have done. I mean, I've lived out of my car twice because I left the corporate world. If we'd stayed in the corporate world, have great benefits, we'd have a big house, fancy house, we'd have all those things. But they're meaningless, and it's not my or Cindy's uh, duty. It's not what we're here for. So that's just explaining why we do things the way we do. Because we could do way better monetarily with less threat to our personal welfare by jumping into the matrix. But there's no way we could jump into the matrix, because once you're truly awoke, sometimes you might want to not be fully awakened, because it can be disconcerting and it can make life a lot more difficult. But there's no way you can do it, and especially when you have understood, say, perhaps some past lives and how they're building towards this. So, this particular mission for Cindy and I, this is multiple lifetimes in the making.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. It's not easy. It's not cush. It's not any of these things. And believe me, sometimes you wonder, gosh, what am I doing? What am I doing? Did I really pick this? Did I really, really choose this? But it comes back around to the answer is yes, because you chose to help a lot of people. You chose to make a difference in people's lives. You chose to help people find their higher self and get in contact with their own guides and put themselves on a path of healing and recovery. So sometimes that can get you in a little bit of trouble when you teach people how to heal themselves. And that part's not easy. But here we are. We're going to do it, and we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, and it's rewarding. That's why we were living in 100 square feet. And a big part of why we chose to do this is because I felt from the guides way back when I was in Florida, you better move and better keep moving, because they're looking for you. And if you stay rooted in one place too long, it can be very easy for accidents to happen, so to speak. So the message really was, this is the best option to keep safe. And at the same time, we know we're all going to be running into a spot where we're going to need to be able to grow some of our own food. That is coming. That is really coming soon. So that's why we've given thought to rooting. And I've thought about different scenarios, like a little piece of land here, a little piece of land there, maybe 2, 3 different little parcels of land that you could bop from, depending on necessity. So yeah, we've listened to all these things, but we every single day ask for guidance from the guides, every single day. And we spend at least an hour, really much more, in connecting to the higher powers every single day. When you consider that a lot of days we'll work on 6 to 8 people, and then with our other practice too, is then we're connected to, and I was the same way when I was in my brick and mortar practice working at a clinic. 10, 12 hours a day, we're connected to the higher powers and channeling those energies. So we know exactly what we are supposed to be doing here, and just wanted to share that with you guys, because just sometimes people don't see the bigger picture, and we want to be transparent with our family members. So, by the way, Bernard Arnault, I'm not really good with the French names, becomes the world's richest person. Yes, this is now the richest person. He's past Bezos. He's past, you know,
Mm.
Gil Bates.
Hmm.
Yes. And even Elon Musk. So his fortune jumped. And what does he do? He sells luxury items. His company owns household names like Fendi, Christian Dior, Givenchy. It shows you that during the lockdown, as you see Europe's luxury lockdown, some people are thriving. And they're the people that basically shop the top upper echelon tier of items of all sorts. And yes, the fluff items, not the basic necessities, the things, the wants, not the needs. This says so much, really, about what's gone on in the pandemic, as we've talked about. So many small business owners, medium businesses gone. Consolidation, as we talked about 6 media companies that basically control everything. Consolidation, consolidation, consolidation. You want to go to, actually shop in person? Well, then you'll have, one choice. Maybe it's a consolidation of Walmart with the clubs, and that's it. Or you could order online, and you got Amazon, and that's it. And by the way, they've both been maybe federalized in the future, quote unquote. But in reality, it's kind of the opposite thing, because again, it's a corporate world. It's a corporate world, and the monetary system is the way we are entrapped. So again, barter and trade, getting outside the system. That's why we're in 100 square feet here, and we have to have the AC off when we're working, which many days is again 8 to 10 hours, and even making the videos in 85, 90, 95 degree weather.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we're choosing to be outside of the system instead of, in the system. And as we've talked about before, there's one single major reason, and you guys know what it is, why many will be deciding to leave the system or to maybe give up and accept the MAR. You could finish the last letter there, right before L.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So interesting, interesting, interesting. Again, let's try to work together as much as possible. Let's try to get outside of the system, barter and trade, work together, homestead, garden, share your knowledge and your expertise with like-minded people, and let's work to change things. Let's keep daily putting out the energy into the world to wake up enough people so that we can change and we can shift. There are those that are awakened now that understandably they don't want to expose themselves to anything, even news that might lower their vibration, and that's totally understandable. If we didn't have this mission, I wouldn't pay attention to any of this, really. I would just be sitting somewhere on a plot of land tending to the crops. And doing my spiritual practice and working out and all that. That's what my days would be. But this is our mission. This is our duty. So that's why we do this.
It's absolutely why we do it. And it is very rewarding. As hard as it is, at the end of the day, you can ask yourself, did I make a difference? What did I do? What did I do today? Did I put my learned skills to use, and did I change somebody's life for the better? And I get to say I did every day. And that's such a huge blessing.
And it feels amazing. I mean, we had one of our family members that reached out to us, that we had one session with her son, who was going through a real hard time. After one session, he's better. Boom. Just like that. That's how powerful we all are. If we cultivate it, if we really develop a spiritual practice, meditation, Qigong, learning how the universe really works, the power of intent. There's so many energy healers out there right now. You guys are going to be needed, especially when, things get even tougher. But we have tremendous abilities laying dormant in so many people that need to be kindled. So we need to cultivate that. And it's just such a beautiful thing to know you can change a life and make a real difference in the world. And we all can.
Absolutely.
So, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Make sure you are subscribed to both channels, have the bell clicked, thumbs up if you like the content. Much love. Stay prepared. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.